and get the interview segment started here. All right, so we are taking a look at Candle Prick by Moraguma. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me on the call today. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
All right, good to hear. So I'll go ahead and just replay the very beginning of the demo that you sent me here. Oh,
Right.
Can you make sure the stream is muted on your end?
What?
Can you make sure the stream is muted? I started to hear myself.
Oh yeah, it's muted. It's muted.
Okay, cool. So we can I can start showing off the level here, and in the meantime, would you be able to tell us a little bit about your background in game development and maybe a little bit more about this project?
So I'm a student. I'm studying computer science at a university in Brazil, and I started making games with people in college. We have like a little group of game devs, and I learned with them how to program in Godot and how to make games, and I started making a lot of stuff. I started out with jam projects. My first like proper game was for GMTK Jam 2020, and I just kept making games since then. Candle Prick is a project I made at the end of 2021, and I had a lot of fun with it, but I just didn't feel like I had time to explore everything everything the game had to offer. So now I'm making it into a full game. It's been very fun. I really do like making games.
Yeah, I think that because this was a game that we've done an interview on this before when you first made it as a jam project. So how long have you been working on this in the like post jam version?
It's kind of hard to say because I'm a student and I do a lot of other stuff. So it's been like about a year, I think, but a lot of that time wasn't really spent working on the game.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, I'd say like about 3 months of like proper time focusing on the game, something close to that.
All right. Hey, Dr. Tronic, thank you so much for the resubscription. How have you been? And hello, hope you're doing well. Yeah, so the overall like process of, has that mostly been making new levels or like building out the like other features? Obviously, there's a much more comprehensive menu here with actual accessibility options, and I should actually try some of those hints on the levels I was getting stuck on.
Oh, right. The hints, I actually implemented the hints yesterday.
Oh, goodness, that's perfect.
Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of both. Initially, when I first made the game for the Jam version, I thought it was complete. I thought everything I had to do was add more levels, but I talked to more people, had more people play the game, and I realized that there was a lot missing. There was a lot missing to make it like proper, full-fledged game. So a lot of the time I spent like more recently was making new stuff. In the last month, I made the new level select. I made the hint system. I made like the little story segment that you can see at the start of the game. I made a lot of stuff that wasn't really related to making levels. So it's a little bit of both.
Interesting. So the okay. That I see what I'm supposed to do with the hints now. Okay.
Yeah, the hints are. I still need to test them a little because I just implemented all of them yesterday, so they're not really that very well refined. But the idea is that it can help without, when you are very, very frustrated with a specific level, it can help you just figure out not be stuck on it forever.
Is it made to the point where if you get a hint, a level doesn't count as completed?
No. I think it's important that like people who can't really figure out the level by themselves can still like enjoy the game. So I don't really put any restriction on it. You can finish the level. You can finish the entire game getting hands on all the levels, and you get no penalties for it.
Okay, because I was just confused because there's a little question mark on this level still.
Oh yeah, that's you can go back to it now. There's that little element you saw at the center of it.
Yeah, the dancing.
Little brush. Yeah, that's the palette. In the original game, the palettes were unlocked automatically once you finish the levels. But in this version, you actually have to complete them. You actually have to collect them like there's a little side collectible in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, the little orange question mark is that there's still something to collect in this level.
Oh.
It's like a little extra challenge that you have to figure out.
Okay. Oh, that's the palette. Okay. I get it.
Yeah, call it.
Oh, it's a paintbrush. Is that the that's what this is supposed to be here?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. The like handle of the paintbrush, I guess, looked very thick. I thought that was like the
It's very
hang.
big.
Yes, yes, totally agree, Dr. Tronic. As someone creating a like minimalist color palette game myself, this is definitely like very appealing to me. Um, okay, now I understand. So you mentioned there's supposed to be like a cutscene of or at the beginning of the game, but I
Oh,
don't think I saw
that
that
first
in the
level you got
demo.
access to actually. That it's the one with like the
Oh,
two little Ys.
oh, I see. This guy here.
So the stream is a little behind.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like a couple seconds delayed.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Uh, yeah, that's it. Oh God, there's a created by moraguma at the center. That's not supposed to be there.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. I was implementing the credits today, so it's I just got stuck there. That's fine.
Okay. And then so what is supposed to actually happen there?
Nothing special actually happening. It's just like there's this big pudding, and she wants candles, and you have to go look for candles for her. There's this 991 more, like below level select. That's how many candles you have to collect before you can finish the game. It's not gonna be 991 in the final game, and that's just a placeholder number that I put there so you don't accidentally finish the game. But yeah, that's the idea. You just go collect the candles, and you come back to it, and there's gonna be a special cutscene once you actually finish it. That makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, nice. I think that's a nice, like, simple way of conveying the sort of story of the game.
Yeah, I took them to a festival this June, and one of the biggest complaints was that the game was missing some context. So most of the work I did these past few months was adding some context to the game. So like a story and level selection and stuff like that to just make this experience a little more, palatable.
Ooh.
Easy to play if you're not in it just for the puzzles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the hint system is a really great addition, and you can see that on this level, even with the hint, I'm still getting stuck.
Yeah, I'm thinking about implementing also like an accessibility option that allows you to just skip levels, but I don't know if that's gonna be like a little too much. If people are gonna end up relying on it too much, like taking the fun out of the game.
So the main, tell me if this is part of your idea behind organizing the level into an overworld like this. Anytime you have a puzzle game, I think of it as you can understand the sort of the basics, and then there are the kind of like techniques, the sort of like unexpected interactions that you might have that are going to be used to solve more and more complicated levels. So is the idea with the branching paths to have these sort of like optionally more difficult levels that build on the mechanics that you sort of should already know by that point?
Yeah, kind of. I thought of a couple different things. The first one was that it's very frustrating to get stuck on a level and have no options except just keep banging your head against it. So I wanted people to be able to try new levels in different orders if they were stuck in specific ones. But another thing I thought about was like games like Outer Wilds that they don't really how do you say it? It's like a Metroidvania in which like you have to complete a couple levels before you complete all the levels. So experiences blocks like that. But it's not very strict. So my idea here was making an open world that people can explore however they want, and make it blocked by instead of like items, make it blocked by knowledge. So some levels are very hard, others aren't, and players are not going to want to go and try to do them at the start. But you can come back to them once you gain more knowledge and like try them again.
Yeah, interesting.
The idea.
I think that it's a really good idea to not, yeah, just force the player to have like only one path they can go down. Like the more possible levels you could be trying at any given time. Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Yeah, that was the way the game worked initially, and I think it got a lot of people stuck. Another thing that lets me do is like teach different like aspects of the game. So the main thing about the game is that you can like stab enemies and drag them around. But there are a lot of like levels that didn't use that, and they would feel really weird because they're hard, but they don't really use that mechanic. So it would feel really weird if they were just like cut in the middle of the game. So what I did was like make different sections that teach different mechanics. So like this little section at the start in which you can choose like two different paths. They have like two very different themes of levels, and you can explore them like independently of each other.
Yeah, there's something about this level, like even to get the palette on this level, I feel like there's a skill that I need to learn about how I
Yeah,
can.
yeah, that definitely is. That palette is particularly hard. I don't think you're gonna be able to like make sense of it until you like try some extra levels after that.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's something about like I don't even. Okay, if I push that, no.
I think the fonts are
uh,
nice for this reason. You know, they incentivize you to look for things you couldn't really see before. So like, I don't think you're gonna be able to figure this palette out. But once you finish some levels, like that are come after that, after this one, it makes a lot more sense. And it makes you like want
right.
to revisit a lot. So like, apply new skills.
Absolutely. I think that. Oh, yeah. This is dual wielding. Not exactly what I meant to do there. Yeah. So. I think I'm going to quickly run into the problem that I had the last time I played the game on the stream, which is this is a game that requires a lot of brain power, or at least for me,
And talking while
to.
you do it is very hard.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Let's roll into the next question that I had then, which is, um, can you talk a little bit about what exactly are the changes that? Oh no, hang on. So did we cover like all the different changes that you made between this one and the Jam version?
Let me think. There's an options menu that wasn't in the gem version.
Right.
But I think that was pretty much it. I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Yeah. So we got the accessibility, and then, um, is there intentionally like getting a hint is like a sort of a lot of different steps, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, that was intentional. I didn't want it to be like very accessible because people will like keep doing it without trying the level. I wanted to make like very hidden and like weird to get to and kind of awkward to like accept. Because the idea is that you're only gonna really press it if you're like already tried a level and and you're really getting frustrated.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally fair. And then we got our palette. Oh, how do we
Yeah, sorry. The palettes are implemented in the game, but I haven't really implemented all of them in the menu. So this menu is from the gem version, but didn't really have the new palettes. So you only have Kendo Brick unlocked. And you can
Okay.
really change this when you want again. But in the final game, they're gonna be in the right place.
Yeah, and then are you going to make the menu like wrap around to the other side?
Oh, that would be good actually. I hadn't really thought about it. It would be kind of hard actually to code it with
Oh
the
no.
way this thing is like set up, but I could do it, and I think it will look really good.
I mean, either that, or I think if you can at least just hide the buttons here when you've reached
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sort of
that would
maximum
that would make
index,
sense.
one or the other, just so people don't get the expectation of being able to use
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that makes sense.
Um, Although I do notice that the menus themselves are mouse accessible, and then the game itself is played with a keyboard. So, wait, can you play the game with the mouse somehow?
Oh, no, no, no. I don't think you can. No, you can't.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just honestly the buttons that were like automatically mouse accessible, so I just kept them that way. I also made them bottom accessible, so you can also like use them as with the buttons, the same button used to play the game. But I don't know, I hadn't really thought about that.
Well, this is so. Oh no, this is the different like menu options and accept. Oh my goodness, you could really. So what happens if like you can't? Oh, I don't know. Does it let you map more than one button to the same input?
You can do two buttons per input. Exactly.
Sorry, by that I mean like, does it let me do something stupid like
Like
move right and move
place.
left?
I think you can actually. I hadn't really thought to like foolproof that.
I mean,
I,
that's your own fault for doing something like that. So it's not saying that you
yes.
need to. That was
Yeah,
interesting.
there's
So,
also yeah, maybe it's probably like a good investment to like keep the player from messing up the experience for themselves. The game also has like a palette editing. Like
mhm.
once you, it's like an extra thing you're not gonna be able to unlock in this demo, but you can also edit the palettes. And if the player actually makes like a palette in which like two colors are the same, they may not be able to actually see the game because everything is
Right.
not gonna look the same color. So like that's also not foolproof. That's probably something I should like think about before releasing the game.
I think that, as long as you have some kind of option on the game, that like if you ever detect that the two colors are the exact same, then maybe just have a button that says like that automatically like text that appears in a different color that says like press R to reset.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that'll be good.
like that text should always be there because even if two colors aren't the exact same, if they're even close, right? Then you could have the option of like it being very hard to see what you've done. I assume that is on the assumption that the player is actually able to modify the menu colors. I don't know if that's possible.
They are like the bullet and everything.
Right, right.
Every
But I
single
mean,
color in the game. But like I could do something. I could overlay it probably, just like put something over it that like overrides the different colors.
yeah. So something that is just like always white text on a black background that says press R to reset palette in case you mess something up, make it
Yeah,
too hard to
I think
see.
I could do that like once the player actually like unlocks the palette editing.
Hmm. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because the more you add to a game, the more freedom you give the player, the more options they have to like screw themselves over, and the players just
Absolutely.
love screwing themselves over. So it's pretty hard with game dev.
It's very difficult when you start realizing just how many edge cases you need to start accounting for to prevent players
Yeah,
from
yeah, definitely.
hardcore mode.
I think making games is pretty easy, but like releasing games is very hard because you just have to deal with so many of these edge cases.
Yes, exactly. Like, and that's this is your first game that you're releasing on Steam, right?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So this is where you're gonna start running into this issue of seeing like I think the quote that I've heard is something like the first 90% of the game takes 90% of the time, and then the last 10% of the game takes the other 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think I heard that code too.
Yeah, because it
But yeah,
is.
it's very hard. I tried in the past to make like full games, like 4 times over. Like trying like to work like spend a month working on a game with like the objective of making it into a full game, but it never worked out because it was just so much work. Candle Brick was meant to be a very short project. Like it meant to work on it during a month and like release it, but it's been a year now, and I'm just now getting actually ready to release it. Making games is very hard.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, especially when, as you said, this if you are a student and you're only able to dedicate like part of your time to working on this project.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So we can move to our next question then, which is if you could talk a little bit about your process of designing levels.
Uh, okay, so I think there's a GMTK video about that, which I follow I keep it very close to my heart, which is that good puzzle games are made out of contradictions, like what the player expects they need to do and what they actually need to do. So I think the best puzzles in Candle Brick are like they follow this notion that the player has an expectation in mind and they had to learn something new to actually like get rid of that expectation, like find the right solution to the puzzle. So I think puzzles. I think of stuff I want the player to learn. I like set up realization they need to have, and then I set up like a distraction, like a way that they like think they have to complete the puzzle. The level you're in right now is not a very good example of that actually, but there are some levels in the game in which like it's very like it feels obvious what you have to do, and when you try to do it, it actually doesn't solve the puzzle at all. So you have to like force yourself to look at the puzzle from a different point of view. So like that's kind of my process, trying to make these assumptions work.
Yeah,
What
like
do you think?
if I jump back over to this
Yeah,
early
that's
level in
it.
the
That's
game,
you
you
got.
can
Yeah, that's a
immediately
very good level.
see it's like, oh yeah, you've picked this up from the wrong place, and therefore you just push the candle away.
Yeah, because like
But
the player learns they have to like pick this sword up first, then the
Yeah.
candles. So they just like make a beeline for the sword. But when they make a beeline for the sword, they pick it from the wrong place. So they have to like press restart and think about the puzzle more and like just figure out what they actually have to do.
Yeah, and I think it is useful that you've taught the player that you can restart prior to teaching the player about the undo functionality. And by the
Yeah.
way, is the undo something that you added since the jam?
No, it was in the jam version.
Okay,
The
okay.
problem with the undo button was that people were ignoring it, kept, like completely forgetting it existed. When I took the festival, people just didn't use it at all. I had to like tell them that they could undo instead of like restarting the whole level, and it was making me very frustrated because the undo makes the game way more like pleasurable to play. So what I did was make the game originally had like restart, undo, and ask the button prompts all on the same level. I made them like into three separate levels, so the player will pay more attention to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good call because there have been a lot of situations where I've ignored the opportunity to undo something because I'll use undo in a situation where I feel like I specifically made a mistake.
Yeah.
But in a lot of the levels I've played so far, it's not clear to me when I've made a mistake or whether I just am in a like I'm not even close to the solution and I do just need to like start over.
Yeah.
So that's been my approach so far.
Well, that's fine. I think that's like what I kind of expect the player to do. It's
Yeah.
how I usually work, like with restart and undo in this kind of puzzle game.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, that getting that palette is going to be the objective of this stream, I think.
Yeah, the palette you have to, that particular palette you have to play the levels above this one to like get an idea what you're supposed to do because they like teach very important mechanics to move, like moving the
No,
puzzle
yeah,
around.
yeah, you did say that, and I went the wrong way. Okay, but yeah, like even here, even with the hint on this one, I'm already like I see what I'm supposed to do, but I don't even know how to do it. I think the one thing I didn't notice the last time I used the hint on this level is that the sword is actually underneath the candle here.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tricky. Anyway, I will figure out, well, or not, you know. I'll just keep going here. But yeah, so in terms of building like the levels in this game specifically, did you sort of like start with an end state in mind and then work backward to construct limitations? Like how?
It really depends on the level, you know. I usually start from a specific idea, you know. I usually start from what I want the player to learn, and like I build a level around that, like making a scenario in which they have to learn this thing to go to get from the obstacle. But sometimes I also start with a contradiction. You know, something like the player needs to get somewhere, but they can't because of some specific reason. And then I think, well, how can they like get through this contradiction? I think there are like two main kinds of puzzles in Punk Cannot Break. Like the ones in which I want the player to learn something specific, and those in which I want the player to like apply something specific. So the ones in which I want the player to apply something specific are the ones I usually start by thinking of what they need to learn, and the ones they need to apply. I'm sorry. The ones in which I want them to apply something specific are the ones I usually start with a contradiction. Like an obstacle they need to like use their toolkit to get through, and the ones I want them to like learn something are the ones I like start with the what I want to learn. Like I build a contradiction around what I want them to like figure out for this level. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And like, wow, having solved this level here, I mean, I'm very thankful for the hint because I think this would have taken me a very long time to get to the point where like this particular solution like became apparent to me. Oh, we've got a question from Mini David about if there are any specific puzzle games that were inspirations for this. Like there's
There are.
Yeah.
There are. Particularly Monsters Expedition, which was a game I was playing like crazy. Like right before the jam, I made Candle Break-In, and when I just loved it so much. I like felt like I needed to make a game that was kind of like it. So I took some ideas from also Stephen Sausage Roll, like stabbing stuff and holding lances, but also like in a very different way. And like the whole game idea just kind of came to me in a burst, and I just applied the mechanics and made an entire puzzle game, and I really liked it. It was like these two puzzle games specifically. Also, I think Baba Is You, not very specifically Baba Is You, but also like Baba Is You because it was a Sokoban game that I really liked. Just like I guess these three.
Yeah, I think Baba's You is an interesting like. It is. It is like ostensibly a Sokoban game, but like also just has so much else in terms of like logic
Yeah.
manipulation. I've only played a very small amount of it at a way back before the pandemic when public going to
Yeah.
trying games at other people's places was a thing. Um, but yeah, I think the the emphasis on this like it's because it's not we have here this is not exactly a Sokoban game like that's not the primary mechanic of pushing. Well, I don't know, pushing does factor. Maybe you'll see, maybe it is more of a factor than I necessarily realize.
I
But
think, yeah, I think Sokoban games are like the way I play them, the way like I feel I like them for,
mhm.
is because they're simple to play. You know, I think the idea is that like they're like really simple to control, and they're not like they don't have a lot of like weird mechanics like Portal does, for example. They just
Mhm.
have like a very small set of actions you can take, and there's a lot of like a lot like that you can take out of it. The original Sokoban is the same way. You know, it's just about pushing boxes, but there's like a lot of like small little techniques you can apply to push boxes more effectively in like specific scenarios, and like I think it's about like those realizations. I think like it's those realizations that make a Sokoban game interesting.
Yeah, and to that point, like, have you how strictly have you tried to ensure that there's only like one given solution to each of these levels?
Not as strictly as I probably should have. I still need to like. I always make them with a very specific solution in mind.
Mhm.
But it does happen quite often that I'm mistaken, and there's actually like more than a specific solution, more than a solution I can apply to level. Um, it kind of depends. Like if I find a different solution, it depends on. I keep it if it's interesting and it doesn't really take back from the main point of the level. Like for the player to learn something and they can just finish the level without learning that thing, I take the solution off because like the level isn't really doing what it's supposed to do at that point. But like if the solution is interesting, I keep it there. Because I think it's nice that the
Mhm.
player like, has the freedom to express themselves in the way they solve these puzzles.
Yeah, I mean, I guess unless there is some specific like lesson that you're trying to teach, right?
Like if the unintended solution doesn't take away from the point of the level, then I keep it in. But if it does take away from the point of the level, then I have to take it out.
Yeah, you have at that point you have to. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, at that point you have to take away the alternate solution, not because you're trying to like remove that expression, but just because this is a game that is building on knowledge from earlier levels. If you don't learn the lesson from a specific level, then you're just going to get confused and have a worse experience
Yeah,
down the line.
like I guess give the player freedom until it's bad for them.
Yeah. Whew. Oh my goodness. We're slowly clearing some of these levels here. Um, but how many levels does the demo have versus what's going to be? Well, you said like 60 plus in the full game, and are you
The game is
deliberately
like
not?
going to have like about 65, I think.
Okay.
The way I'm finishing like the last levels right now, so I'm just playing with the world map and maybe adding some levels in which where I feel like we could have like a better pacing. But like probably about around 65. Like
Mhm.
what you're playing right now isn't really an official demo. I just explored the game as it was in my development build. So I don't know how many there are there. I think like about 30.
Okay. Wow. And then how many were there in the original Jam version?
Uh, 18. 18. There are more levels built than you can play in this demo. They're just not on the map yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the game currently has like 50, 50, 53 or something like that levels like complete and ready for full
Mhm.
release. So I'm just gonna like spend the next week making less levels and like start playtesting.
Yeah. And then how much time are you sort of allotting for like Well, I mean, like you're already obviously you have like the game, you've sent it my way here, so I can be playing it on the stream. But do you think that you're going to insert any more levels into the early game, or are you still just like looking ahead to making levels for the late game?
I think I'm mostly looking ahead. I think I'm mostly looking ahead. The levels you have played right now are like the first levels the players intended to play, and I think they work fine. But if I'm being honest, I'm thinking of delaying the game by like a month, just so I have
Mhm.
like more time to play test and figure out what isn't exactly working. Like I know I can release the game in, I can finish the game like next week. Like I'm planning to do that, and I'm gonna do that. But I think it would probably benefit a lot from having like more time, a lot of just playtesting and testing if like the full levels are right, or like and if it needs more levels in the early stages.
Because I think that the one thing that felt like a significant jump was this level here. Um, if there's any way you could introduce the concept of like moving items over the void, like um, yeah, just this is just one specific point where I felt like there was a significant jump in difficulty
Yeah.
to the point where even with the accessibility hint, it was difficult.
Um,
Um, so
the
if yeah, go ahead.
no, like the idea here is that this section is meant to be harder. Like you actually like did the levels in an order that I wasn't really expecting, because like
Oh,
most people who have played tested the game have tried the like the on the right first, like the east one. Um, yeah, I'm thinking.
well, the only reason I started going up was because you said that I need to learn skills from
Oh
here
yeah, no, like that's
specifically.
true. Like to get the specific play you do have, but like I
Yeah.
think the levels on the right are like more intuitive to start.
Okay.
The world map is also missing some decorations, which I think should also help. Look at the full. Just like hints that are gonna like incentivize the player to go specific ways. Because like the right way is easier than the up way. Yeah, I definitely do think the game needs like to make it clear which specific levels are easier to start with, and which ones you should like leave for afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the I'm trying to think of like how you would gate that in a way, like because you don't want to prevent players from going in that direction and learning that mechanic,
Yeah.
but it is
Honestly, I'm just thinking like add some signs, make some like arrows that point you to like the right way,
mhm.
and then the player, when they feel comfortable, they can just like ignore these arrows, like do it another way instead. I think like it speaks true to what like my vision for what like the game's supposed to feel like when you play it, which is like you have a lot of freedom to like explore stuff and like learn things at your own pace. But like it does like give you a little hint, like this way is easier. You should probably start this way. But if you don't want it, you can just like try something else.
You know, one thing that just occurred to me, it's one of the only other like puzzle games that I've put like really I don't know, like puzzle hardcore puzzle type games. Um, but on my phone I've got the game Snakebird, if you're familiar with it.
Oh, I am familiar. Yeah.
And I just remembered, like, I was just thinking about, like, well, they have an overworld too. What do they do? Well, they just have numbers over. Well, that's not very visible at all, and it's mirrored, so it's not going to be the most legible thing there. But yeah, but but that idea though of just
Yeah.
having numbers that kind of guide you and say like, oh, this is world 1 and this is 1-1 and
Yeah.
1-2, and like if over here you say this is world 2 and up here you say this is world 3, then the player kind of like naturally thinks of like, the arrows might work just as well, but if there is this idea that the levels are kind of broken up into worlds, and that kind of naturally hints that like, oh, I guess going over here is going to be, it's probably easier for me to go in this direction because I'm just counting up in that way.
Yeah, I actually the first implementation of the open world the game had had numbered levels. I actually took them all because the people who played test the game actually felt like they had to do the levels in exactly the right order. So
Yeah, the tyranny of the numbers.
yeah, like I don't know. I think I like the arrows more because they feel way less strict. Like they're just like a general direction. The numbers you feel like the game starts to feel like a checklist. Like the player has to do them like the very specific order, which is gonna mess up. And
Yeah,
I don't want to like enforce this specifically.
yeah. I mean, so do you consider this zone up here to be like a bonus, or do you consider it to be like a core part of the experience?
A bonus, honestly.
Okay,
Like
because
the way the game is set up is actually that you don't have to reach a final level. You just
okay,
have to like finish a specific amount of levels. So I guess everything is a bonus if you think about it this way, because the player can just like walk around and do anything at all. If they're finishing levels, they're doing it right.
yeah. So I guess in that sense, there isn't a strict order to things, but there is like a sort of a loose order. And yeah, maybe the signs are a good compromise because in that sense, um, I think there is more of an inclination to like at least in certain parts of the world, there's more of an inclination to like go to the right, like right and down is a very like dominant direction for people because it's the way that we like read stuff. So
Yes.
if you have the level laid out in this pattern in this sort of shape already and you have a little like sign with an arrow that is hinting like oh go this way, I think both of those like mental cues put together, it'll be something that you can see in playtesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully those two things together will kind of guide people without making them feel like it's the only way to play it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so um, I did just want to ask at one point about like how did you find the like process of getting the game onto Steam?
It's way easier than I thought it would be. Also, way more expensive. Um, you just literally just enter the website, make an account, and like pay them a tax, and that's it. That's it. They'll have to like look over your game to see if this like breaks any guidelines, but it's very easy. Like if you're willing to pay the price, it's very easy.
Yeah, we do actually have a
Uh,
couple suggestions. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but just
no, that's
before
it.
we get too
It's just
far
I was
away.
just
Okay, yeah. So first of all, Mini David was suggesting maybe having a puzzle on the map, and I'm not sure. Like, I can kind of imagine like the map being a sort of like meta version of the puzzle in the game, but I feel like that would also be a whole lot of work to implement something like that at this
it
point.
would. It definitely would.
And then also Dr. Tronic having the suggestion of a little skull on a sign indicating the harder path.
Yeah, that would also be cool. Like I think allied to the alongside the like signs to the correct ways, I think it would be very nice. Like indicate the ones which are very hard, indicate the ones which are very easy. So like the player knows kind of like where they're supposed to go, even if they have already gone the easy way. And
Yeah,
like there's gonna
so
be a specific section of the game, which is gonna be like at the very start, which is gonna be like meant for the player to go back to once they have like finished pretty much everything. So I think that would be a good place to place this call. So they can like try to do it if they have no idea what they're doing.
yeah, I think that's a good call. Oh my goodness, this is. I know. I say this is another tricky one. It's like, oh, honestly, they're all tricky. uh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think definitely like guiding the player better is something that I want to do. It's also very easy to do because like the overworld is set up the way I can just like paint stuff over it.
Yeah. So one thing that I've mentioned this a couple times, but in terms of guiding players through different incrementing, like learning more about a puzzle, sort of building up their familiarity with it. One tactic I really like is anytime you hit sort of like a roadblock level, you just take that level, copy it into two, and make an easier version of the level that the player has to complete before they get to the harder version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if the harder version of the level has some kind of like twist to it, then you get that opportunity to have that little contradiction of like, oh, well, you solved the easier version of this level by doing this,
But it
and
doesn't
now
really work on the harder version.
yes, exactly. So the overall structure of both levels is very close. And from that sense, you don't necessarily have to design two whole levels from scratch, but it becomes a really good like teachable moment to the player where they can have the opportunity to kind of do these two puzzles back to back, and there's just a bit more of a flow, like this feeling of like, oh, okay, I figured it out, I get it.
Yeah, I like that. Really like that. The way you said it, I think it's like way more explicit than the way I did it. I have like some levels were a little hard, and I like put levels before them, like thought the same mechanics. But I think the idea of like mirroring the experience, like making the player think of the last level, like finding a contradiction between two levels, is very interesting. Yeah, it's something I don't think Kennel Brick ever does.
Yeah, and it really just comes down to like you could have two levels one after another that have a similar kind of concept to them but just look completely different. What I'm describing, it might even be perceived negatively by players as kind of like a low effort thing because you have two levels back to back which are intentionally made to look similar to each other. And you know, people might say like, "Oh, you're just copy pasting level design or whatever." It's like, no, you don't understand. This is better. This is good design. Trust me.
Yeah.
But you know, that's sometimes managing player expectations is difficult, and I think that I like to think that as long as people are having fun, then they don't question the fact that it's like, well, you know, maybe some of these levels are a little similar to each other, but there's 75 of them instead of only 65 of them, because any ones that were made with this kind of like copy paste method just end up contributing to a larger whole. You're not losing out on anything.
It's like you're doing like the same puzzle through two levels.
Yeah, basically. And I don't know. I say that, but then I know people, you know, when they see like the quote unquote clone characters in Super Smash Brothers, they say like, "Oh, why don't you just make a unique character?" It's like, no, you don't understand. There was not time in development to make these more characters. You either accept the fact that you get this model swap, or you just wouldn't have had it at all. It's not this instead of this. It's this or nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, managing expectations in that way is very difficult. And but you know, with decoration, with like the level layout, you can make things that feel close without being too direct of a copy. But you know, it is definitely a as Minnie David says, that is the puzzle conundrum.
Yeah, I think anything can work as long as you do it with intention. You know, if it's like to contribute to a larger feeling that the player is supposed to feel, I think it should work. Like the levels are like meant to be teaching something, like alongside each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Okay, I've got to back out of this one because I am not. I'm stuck.
No, that's fine. I think it's very good that it's like too hard for you because like puzzle, the level select is like there for that. It exists so you can just back out and do something else instead of like being stuck in the same level for a long time.
Yeah, and that's a good call. Like I think that by and large. There's a very clear illustration of like a little.
Oh yeah, I really like this level. It's like very simple, but I really like it, and like it illustrates the contradiction idea of like puzzle design very well.
Yes, absolutely. Oh well, hang on. No, I didn't. Okay, that's not how you get the palette. I didn't think it would be that easy. Can I just sort of push you over? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay, that makes me feel. Yeah, there you go. That's a excellent, like, clever feeling, and it follows really nicely from this level here, where you had to, oops, um, sort of like the solution to this level was pushing this guy, um, or like, okay, now it's been a little long since I. Okay, this is the opposite of what I was supposed to do. No, okay, no, this is gonna work. Um, yeah, so the previous level involved pushing the little, like, I don't know, I guess dead candle guy.
Uh,
Is the only thing. What's the actual size of these sprites? Are these? Let me
it's
see.
I actually kind of cheat on them. They're mostly 16 by 16, except for the player, which is 18 by 18. Because I
Oh, well,
wanted to like
it's
jump a little higher.
yeah, it's subtle enough that I didn't notice the player was a different pixel density, but like nobody mentioned that because there are people who get so bent out of shape about different pixel densities. Oh my god, I
Oh,
don't
they're
care.
similar enough.
Sorry?
They're similar enough, I guess.
Yeah, no, they definitely are, but like, wow, some people are just like, it looks nice, but there's different pixel densities, so 1 out of 5 stars. What?
Yeah, I get that.
Oh my gosh. Um, so we mentioned the Steam thing briefly. Like, it was a relatively painless, just expensive process. Like, what is the I guess there's no, because it's $100 US, right?
Yeah.
And if you're like at a good job, I'd say you could probably make $100 in a day.
Yeah.
How does it compare to the, like, what they're charging in Brazil?
It's actually a very nice conversion rate. Like, in terms of sheer numbers, I think like the minimum wage in Brazil is pretty similar to the minimum wage in like the United States. It's like, how much is it? It's like a little above $1,000. In Brazil, it's like a little above 1,000 reais.
Mhm.
But a dollar is actually worth like 5 reais. So the game should be like in Brazil, if they convert it directly, it should be like half a minimum wage to put the game on Steam. But they have a nice conversion rate, so it's like I think it's like 390 reais. So it's like 39% of minimum wage, which is like more expensive than United States. But you can still play it. Like, it's payable. It's just like if you're in college and you're like struggling to make a game and you have time, like you barely have a job, it's like it's a little harder.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah, so there's a good example of where I wanted to use an undo because I did something I specifically didn't mean to. But most of the time... Oh, no, I think that still wasn't right. Trying to think of... Oh, because once you're sort of like connected to these guys, that's when it's no longer possible to... it's very tricky because I know what I'm supposed to do, but it's just a matter of like trying to work backwards to figure it out. All right, and then I guess the last thing that I had in mind to ask, and if anyone has any questions in the chat, like, please do send them along, and I'll make sure to ask them. The last thing that I really wanted to ask about was just how you went about creating the palettes in the first place.
they're very easy to create actually. The way they work in the game is just you have a screen reading change shader, and they just take the white, the black, and the orange, and they swap something else. So the way I do it is just I select 3 colors, and the game automatically swap between them. So since it's very easy, like in the first iteration of the game, I just went crazy with it, and I made like 36 palettes for like 18 levels, and it was a little insane. So like in this version of the game, I'm making less palettes. The 60 plus palettes thing on Steam is actually wrong. I'm gonna have to change that. The game is gonna have like about 20, but all of them are gonna be related to like a specific collectible. So it's gonna be like a little more interesting once you get them. That's the idea. Like, you're gonna have less palettes, but I'm gonna spend more time like thinking about them and like making them feel more valuable.
I mean, I think that you could always just make it so that some of those palettes are like pre-unlocked, or you unlock them at a certain like threshold of candles.
I guess, but if I make some palettes already unlocked and they look very nice, I guess the palettes that you actually have to work for, I'm gonna feel like a little less special, and I don't want to do
Okay.
that.
So in that case, maybe what we can do. Oh, first of all, we've got a question here from King Bowser II. What are the expectations of revenue for the game? Oh, okay. So
Oh, yeah,
if you
I
want to
have no
answer that, go
idea.
ahead.
Like, I'm
Okay.
a student. Like, I'm not like a full-time game dev at all, and I don't think I really want to be a full-time game dev at all. So I'm making the game. I didn't spend a lot making it. I just spent a lot of time. I guess what I expect to get from it are mostly like stuff from my curriculum, like having
Hmm.
released something interesting. Like if I actually get some money from it, I'm gonna be very happy. But I'm not really expecting it to like get a lot, to be honest.
Okay,
Like I just
that's
hope people
fair.
who like Sokoban style games play it and they think it's nice. It wasn't
Yeah, I
like very
mean,
expensive to make, just
yeah, it's something that you made
basic.
like in your spare time, essentially when between school, right?
Yeah.
Do you mind saying like how is the game doing in terms of wish lists?
It has like about 200 right now, which is not
Okay.
like. I talked to some other people at the festival I went to, like people at my level, students who are making games, and they usually release with like something close to that. Like it's very hard to get popularity if you're like doing this kind of stuff in your spare time.
Hmm.
But yeah, about 200, about 100, and I think it's fine.
Okay. And then in terms of like you mentioned there that like you don't necessarily want to be a game dev full time. So can I ask like what are your aspirations? What do you want to do?
It actually isn't. I want to be a professor actually in computer science. I'm doing a undergraduate research program, and I just a paper I sent to a symposium of like game dev stuff was actually accepted, like to be like a big conference in Brazil, just 2 days ago. That's very nice. It's like working on computing stuff, but also like implementing stuff that's related to games to this kind of academic work. So
Hmm.
it's kind of related to games, but it isn't really like specifically making video games full time.
Right. Yeah. No, that's really cool though. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. The paper I wrote it was actually like a specific implementation of cognitive architectures on video games. Cognitive architectures are like a very weird and specific branch of AI, which I think is very fun to mess with. So like I did some stuff with that on Godot when I wrote about it, and like it was accepted. So like it's fun. Like video games are like very interdisciplinary, and I think I have a lot of like space to apply them in academic work too. I just don't want to work full time as a game dev because like I will be in the industry, and the industry, the way I see it, it kind of limits your creativity. It kind of limits what you can do with it.
Hmm.
And like I want to make games as a hobby because I want to like have full artistic freedom what I do with them.
No, I think that's a very realistic approach to these things. There was a video actually. Have you seen the channel, the videos that are being produced by Masahiro Sakurai?
I have been watching all of them actually.
Yeah. Okay. So then you know that he made one just recently that talks
Yeah,
about
but
like
like game dev isn't like all fun. It's a
exactly.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. And doing a job, like the absolute dream is to be making the games that you want to make that are fun and you're having fun making them. But
Yeah.
much more realistically, you are going to be working together on a team to make a game that is a product that has to bring your company money in order to be
Yeah.
able to keep making games. Like there's a lot of financial stuff that gets tied up with the whether or not you get to keep making a game. So I think from that perspective, what you're talking about does make a lot of sense in terms
Yeah.
of like you find something that you want to do that you're happy doing, and then you still have the ability to express yourself artistically and make games as a hobby. So
That's it. Like
yeah,
ideally, I think I would like to be like Toby Fox kind of guy that just makes whatever he wants and just
yeah,
gets to like live financially from that because it's just really popular. But like realistically, I think it's very hard to get to that point. And like involves a lot of luck. Involves like
exactly.
knowing a lot of the right people. And I just don't think I'm in the position to do that, especially like as a game dev in Brazil. You know. So I don't want to work in game dev because game dev is really fun for me. and I don't want to take the fun out of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's a really good, like, if I let me put it this way. I wish I could have made peace with it as you have, because I'm still fighting tooth and nail to, like, I work in game dev professionally during the day, but it's at a startup company, so it's not like I'm making tons of cash from that. But I am working in evenings and weekends to try to make something that I hope someday would be financially successful enough that I could break out and do
I
that.
work as like an independent game dev.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, Fluffy1024. How are you doing?
Hi.
Um, yeah, so I guess we got a bit sidetracked there, but
Oh,
all
that's
that
fine.
said, um, do you have what sort of plan do you have in mind to like get the game in front of people, like playtesting wise?
I have a lot of friends.
Okay, perfect.
Particularly, I'm in a game dev group in college right now, so I know a lot of people like that know video games and that are very interested in video games. So, like, I'm currently a project coordinator, so like I'm part of like the people who take care of this group.
Mhm.
So it's very easy for me to just talk to people, like get people who are interested in like playing this game just because they want to play it, and like get like a spot in the special thanks section.
Okay.
I basically have a lot of friends who like are very interested in game dev, and like they can playtest for me the same way I have playtest a game for them.
Well, I mean that absolutely works. I guess the yeah, like at a certain point, I think that is the hardest thing is like just knowing enough people, especially people who are interested in games of a specific genre. Because like you can give some general feedback, but like I already said at the very start, like puzzle
Yeah,
games are not really my thing. So the only advice that I can really give is going to be tinted by this perspective of like how could I make this more fun for me, and I don't know
yeah,
if that's necessarily what you're going for. You know that there's probably a significant appeal to having puzzles that are this difficult that I'm not necessarily seeing.
yeah.
Um, so, all that said, I guess yeah, I the only other thing is just like sort of keeping track of getting those fresh perspectives, right? Because you're only going to get
Yeah.
that first impression the first time.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of value actually from like talking to people like you who don't like necessarily like this kind of game. It's something I got from bringing into a festival. Like a lot of people, puzzle games, especially like Sokoba and South puzzle games, are very niche. So like a lot of
Hmm.
people don't like them. And I think it's nice to try to make the game fun for those people too. The original game was like mostly just focused on the puzzles, and that was kind of bad because like a lot of people aren't as engaged as I am by these puzzles, and they just want to they just don't want to keep playing just for the difficulty of it. So that's something like
Hmm.
that engages me personally, but that doesn't work for a lot of people. So like adding a world map, adding like a little story structure, adding hints to the game was something that I figured out that really helped engage people who weren't really that much in this kind of stuff, and like get them to actually play the game and actually enjoy it for what it is. Like using like these tools as like an opening into this sort of experience, and like through them letting people enjoy the game for like the more difficult aspects, like the aspects I actually like about it the most.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that there is a certain amount of like set dressing that goes into making just an overall experience feel polished enough. Like,
Yeah,
because if it's any less than that, then you just kind of get bored and wander off, right?
yeah. It's very hard to just like get stuck in this echo box and this echo chamber. How to say it?
Yeah, yeah.
Get stuck in this echo chamber of like just the way you see the game and the things you find engaging about the game, and not really thinking about what person that's going to be playing the game that isn't necessarily engaged by the same things that as you are is going to think about it. So I guess that's an experience that I really valued, like being able to get when I brought the festival. Let alone
Hmm.
play it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because again, it's the difference. As Sakurai has so well pointed out in one of his recent videos, that like it's the difference between making what you find fun versus what you know your audience is going to find fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, so Mini David, I agree. It is something that you can spend really a lot of time thinking about. Like, do you create art for yourself, or do you create art for others, or is it a bit of both, or is it entirely for others? personally, I will just say that at least at least as far as like a hobby perspective, right? Like this is different. This is not day job Gabriel speaking. This is hobby Gabriel speaking. Um, I am focused on making the kind of games that I want to play because then I know with some certainty that at least I will like it. And maybe people who have the same or similar tastes to me should also like it. Because if I like it, then at least I know that one person in the world likes this game. If I have to make something that is in a genre that I don't enjoy, then I really have to do a lot of research to find what people like about that kind of game. Because otherwise, I'm going to end up making something that neither I enjoy nor anyone else enjoys either. So that would be the worst possible situation.
I think I find it's a little bit of both, actually. You know, I think I don't want to make a game. I want to make a game that I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
But like my objective isn't really to make a game. My objective isn't really to make it. Sorry. My objective is to make a game that people are going to be able to enjoy the same way that I can enjoy it. And I find that the set dressing has a lot to do with that. You know.
Yeah.
Because for me, the game doesn't really need to have a world map. The game doesn't really need to have like story content. It can be just the puzzles. But people who play this game who are like already into the sort of stuff don't really find the same joy in it that I do. So, like I guess the set dressing is just a way to make the player feel the way I do. You know, like a way to like bridge the gap between the way I think of puzzle games and the way they think of puzzle games. So like I think it needs to have a little bit of both if you're gonna make an experience that's like enjoyable to play to people who like aren't you.
Yeah, no, that absolutely. Like it is a way of broadening the scope of appeal of the game. Like you're not changing what you like about it. You're just sort of, you know, for in a funny way, you're like proving to other people that this experience is worth giving their time in a weird way.
Yeah, that's it. Like you're like giving them something to like hold on to. Because you hold on to like the experience itself, you hold on to like the mechanics you think of and the stuff you already like. But people who don't really find the same enjoyment as you do can really hold on to the same thing. So like you give them something else. And that's the way I like feel about puzzle games. You can feel like adding stuff to make your game more palatable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's just a fantastic thing to keep in mind in general. But was there anything else that we wanted to still showcase about Candle Prick before we wrap things up here? Any other questions? If anyone's watching that they'd like to ask, now would be the time to get those in.
I think there's like a funny story related to the game.
Oh yeah.
That I wanted to tell. I brought the game with me to a festival. It's called Big Festival. It's like it's best international games festival in Brazil. Which is like apparently, according to the website at least, it's like the biggest Latin American independent games festival. So the first day, the festival was like a press day, and I had only been speaking to people in Portuguese, and I was showcasing the games to like these people who are like journalists and like influencers and this kind of stuff. And there was this one guy, this like kind of old Asian guy who I didn't really know who he was. And he was like talking in English and like going through all the games of like little booths for like students and like small developers from Brazil, and like playing all of them. And like he eventually got to mine, and I hadn't spoken in English all day, so I was very rusty. And like he played my game. I tried talking to him, but it was very awkward. And like I could tell he was getting stuck, and I wasn't able to help him. And like he got frustrated, and like at level 4, he eventually just looked at me and said, "It's very hard," and he stopped playing. So like that was kind of a bummer, but I just kept presenting because like it's a puzzle game. Some people are just not gonna like it. But like half an hour later, I was talking to some like of the expositors, like the people who were presenting games next to me, and they told me that this like guy who played my game was actually Shuhei Yoshida, who's like Sony's ex-president. Yeah, I was very scared. So like now I have like this game that's Candle Prick, and like Sony's ex-president absolutely hates it, and I don't know what to do with this information. But that's it. Candle Prick is very hard according to Sony's ex-president.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you know, there's something to be said for giving a clear impression of what kind of game it is, right? Um, the you're very clear about the description here. You say it's a game like increasingly complex puzzles. I think that that sort of goes without saying, but if you really want to sell this as a like really difficult game, I think that is totally valid, right? Like there are people who are going to say like, "Ooh, this is a really like tough puzzle game I can sink my teeth into."
Yeah.
There's absolutely an audience for that. I think you just need to be very clear about the signaling that sort of indicates, yes, this is going to be a hard game. Like get ready, brace yourself.
Yeah, I think that's something I really do want to emphasize with this game because that's what I find really fun about it.
Hmm. Oh
I
my
sent
gosh.
you a pic of like the Sony's ex-president at the event, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Like that was the man. That was the man who hated my game.
Oh, that's very funny though. I just want to see. Okay, now you can't really see the name details there, but huh.
Yeah. Like it was a learning experience. I think it really helped me understand what I was actually selling with Kind of Brick.
Mhm.
Like understanding what people liked about it, what people didn't like about it, and like what is that I'm supposed to emphasize when I'm selling the game to people.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that they're like there's absolutely nothing wrong. Like there you go, you got difficult right there in your Steam tags. You've got a very clear
Yeah.
like, yes, this is gonna be tough game. Um, and I'm just wondering like maybe like I would just say because like I would almost take it for granted that the puzzles are increasingly difficult. So I feel like you could almost switch this word out and say like use them as extensions of yourself to solve deviously complex puzzles.
Oh, that would be nice actually. I like that.
Because I think that that word fits in the exact same spot that you have here, but it kind of hints the fact that it's like, oh yeah, increasingly difficult. Of course, that's we expect that from all puzzle games. I would hope,
Yeah.
right? But um, you're you're sort of trying to like weigh two things, right? Like you're trying to make sure that people try the game and then don't necessarily like just give up on it and go for like a Steam refund, right?
Yeah.
Um, although I do think we've got some fun conversation in the chat here about like top tagline. Uh, Ex-president of Sony says like hates it or whatever. It's too difficult for him.
I was actually thinking, I had made a joke with a friend of mine who was in the festival. I think if I eventually made an accolades trailer for Candlebrick, I wanted to put like way too hard as a quote from Sony's ex-president.
Is that what he said? Way too hard?
I think he said, it's very hard.
Okay,
Actually.
right, yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah, and like that that is where you can sort of use that tactic that I mentioned of like, take each of these levels and kind of divide them into two copies of the same level with a less difficult version that you can kind of breeze through based on existing knowledge. And
Yeah.
then the very next level immediately kind of like you get stuck and you realize that obvious thing that you were trying to do isn't going to work and you have to kind of like work around it. But rather than needing to put a hint in the level itself, the hint for what to do in the new level comes from the solution to the previous level. Which I think having the hints in the game is already like excellent. But it really, yeah, like it just sort of gets to the heart of, do you want to try to make this an experience that theoretically anyone who gets into it can get to the end, right? Like you mentioned that you have a sort of like target number of levels you need to complete, but yeah, I guess how important is it to you for somebody to like start playing the game and actually see all the levels get all the pallets, like 100% completion?
I guess not. I guess what I want people to like get out of the game is just uh, a complete experience. I think it's important to me that everyone who plays the game actually
Mhm.
wants like completed to the end.
Mhm.
Like they want to get like the main levels to like get to the credits of the game. But I think people who get up, like I only expect people that actually really like this kind of stuff to get like all the palettes and like work through all the levels and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
So
like
in
I want
that,
them like the average player to have like a complete experience, you know.
yeah,
But like
yeah,
that complete experience for them might not be like the same as I think a complete experience should be, you know. I think some people like can be very satisfied without actually getting all the bullets.
yeah. So there's a difference between seeing seeing the sort of like end and the credits roll in the game versus 100% completion.
Huh?
So you want everyone to be able to get to the credits, but you're not worried about everyone going for 100% completion. I think that makes total sense.
I think like 100% completion is really like very much reserved for people who are like me, people who like
Mhm.
really like this kind of weird, very hard puzzle game. But
Yeah.
like I think I want to make the experience like getting to the credits like more accessible to the point that people can actually like do it, even if they're like not entirely uh, sold on this idea of just puzzles. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, so I think that definitely makes sense. You know, from that perspective, when you're doing the play tests, I think that try to have people play the game with a some sort of document open next to them. And is there do the levels have like an ID or a name to them that the people can see somewhere?
No, but I think my if I end up distributing this to like a lot of people,
Hmm.
playtest, I think I might have to do it because without it, it's pretty much like impossible to categorize stuff and like for me to like understand what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Like even here on the pause menu, there's space just in the sort of the bottom to like have a level ID.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know because there are some levels where the camera moves, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Everything's on one screen.
Yeah, on all the levels, like in the level select, the camera does move, but like on the levels
Oh, right,
themselves,
right.
no.
Okay, okay. So that's what I must have been getting mixed up with, because I think like either here on the pause screen you could put something in the gap at the bottom. Um, is I mean, unless you're planning to put something else there, it looks like the menu is a little like there's less space at the top than there is at the bottom. So I don't know if there's just something removed right now.
I hadn't really thought about it, but I think this might fit very well, like as a place to put the level ID.
Yeah, and that could be like an easy fix. And then there's also the possibility of maybe putting something like in one of the corners of the game. I don't know if that blocks anything important at
And that's the thing, I also don't know, so I'm kind of worried about like blocking something accidentally.
right. Well, okay, then in that case, pause menu is a pretty
Yeah,
safe
I think so.
space.
I think so.
And yeah, so all I was gonna say is like when people get stuck, I mean, like the sort of like ideal thing, right, would be if people are willing to play this game and give every level like a difficulty rating and say like too easy, felt just right, um, hard, but like still okay, and then sort of like red flag is like got stuck, had to use hint.
Yeah.
So if you if you have a sort of like spreadsheet way of doing that where you can kind of like pick from the one of these four options, like it would be pretty exhausting to do it for every single level. So a kind of easier way of doing that would be to only make note of the levels where you get stuck.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so I guess there's actually I said four, but I think four is got stuck, had to use hint. Five is got stuck, couldn't beat it even with the hint.
Uh-huh.
So I think yeah, those sort of five options would make sense. But again, it depends on how much of these people time you're able to take up with
Yeah,
having
that's what I'm gonna have
them
to figure out because I don't have the money to pay playtesters.
right.
So I'm gonna think about it. I think next step for the game is like finishing it up. That's gonna be like a week, maximum 2 weeks, because I know like exactly what more the game needs, and then just exporting it and like sending to people, like getting to play it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I do like the Steam stuff, like setting up achievements, and like whatever else I need to do to like put it on Steam.
Yeah. All right. That definitely sounds good. Sounds like you've got your work cut out for you, for sure. But
Oh, that I do.
I mean, if you're still intent on releasing within a month, right? But as you said, like you're okay to delay that.
I think like a month max. So that's I know I can finish the game by the other time. Like I have everything planned, but I guess just making sure it's very nice to play once it's out. And I think that like making sure that everything's actually working as fine, like as intended, that might take a little while longer.
Yeah, I mean, there is also the other possibility that I was kind of overlooking here, that which is to just release the game into early access. I mean, had you considered doing something like that?
I don't really like that idea. I think it might work. Like I haven't really studied like the financial part of it, but I just don't like the idea out of principle because I don't really like playing games that are on early access. To be honest,
Okay,
like I
that's
prefer
fair.
just like play a game when it's like finished completely.
Yeah, I guess the only reason I was sort of suggesting that is because it would be a relatively easy way to sort of get more eyes on the game. But I also understand why that's if you're able to get the feedback that you need from just the pool of people that you know, then I think you're good. But yeah, let's just take a quick stock of this here. And again, if anyone has any questions in chat, now is a good time to get those in. But I would say I am hard stuck even with a hint on this level here. Again, if there's something that I need to learn to do that, I just don't know what it is. I got through that branch just fine. Did I don't remember if I actually was like hard stuck on this one. Oh yeah, this one is also like even with the hint, I don't know what to do. But I didn't spend as much time on that one. I think this one to the left here, I also didn't spend very much time on this one. I don't even think I tried the hint on that one yet. So let's not worry about that one necessarily. And I think that's the only branch. Yeah, those are the only branches that are available to me right now. So
I think something that, like alleviates a little more my worries a little is that you haven't gotten stuck to a point that you wouldn't have anything to do in the full game. Because like the full game, they're like that upper branch on the right. That's somewhere that's a branch that you can like continue to follow through and like meet up with this branch on the bottom.
okay, cool.
So yeah, I guess like the level structure that allows me to like try stuff in different orders really helps like alleviate this kind of frustration from being stuck. I just have to like finish everything up and like get people tested to make sure
Yeah.
that like no sore points remain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only other thing that I noticed, especially early on, was sometimes I would have a little bit of difficulty distinguishing between what is just like a pure black tile and what is like a decorative, mostly black tile that I actually can stand on. I'm trying to remember exactly.
Do you think you still have that problem like after playing the game for a while?
I feel like it hasn't come up as much, so
Yeah.
maybe it's just something that you get used to.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it because like that's a very common feedback that I get, but I mostly get it from people who have like played the game for like a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if it's I have to like play test and like ask people more specifically about that after like they play for a while. But like from what I figured from like the people who have like spent more time with the game, it like stops being a problem after a while. So like I don't know if that's something that I really have to look into and like change something about because like I really like the aesthetic of the game and like if I could like keep the aesthetic as it is like and sacrifice like a little bit of legibility but it's something that like people are gonna like figure out eventually. I think like I'd be willing to sacrifice a little bit of legibility for that aesthetic.
Yeah, I guess because you're creating this kind of effect, like these are like ledges coming out of the like it's almost like a sort of skewed like depth perspective that we've got on some of these tiles, like what I'm standing on right now. And I think the only thing that's a little confusing is like, yeah, these tiles here. You know what? Is there any way that these tiles in the middle and on the right and left at the bottom here could also have this kind of like sort of double line going across?
I guess. I guess I could do something like that. What I'm actually thinking of doing is just like making the borders of the tiles that are like a flat color, like 2 pixels wide instead of like 1 pixel wide,
Mm-hmm.
to make them like more different to the like background.
Yeah, something that is just completely black. I don't
Like
know.
the way they are is like is a tile that's completely black, but they have like a 1 pixel outline of white. But maybe if I
Yeah.
just make this outline like a little bit stronger, people are gonna have like an easier time understanding which one.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's definitely like if you make that small change before you do any more playtesting, and then you stop getting that suggestion or that feedback, then you know that it's a effective change, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
So
It's very hard, like to like work on legibility while you're also like trying to make stuff look very nice.
yeah, absolutely. With the minimal color palette for sure.
Yeah, like that too.
All right. Well, if no one has any other questions from chat, then I think we will wrap things up there for now. But thank you so much for joining me and having this whole long conversation. It's definitely, it is a really like interesting puzzle game. I definitely had that feeling of like I wish I understood this better.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Like again, I guess it's always very fun to talk to you.
All right, excellent. Well, I wish you the best of luck with your eventual release, and feel free. Don't forget that on the Discord itself, there are people in the developer feedback exchange channel who have specifically elected to have the playtester role. So feel free to ping people and say like, hey, if anyone would like to come and try my game out. There are 30 people so far who have chosen the player role. So yeah, you can ping that role and see if anyone is up for giving the game a shot.
Oh, that's nice. I think I'm definitely gonna think about it. If I don't find as much feedback as I need from the people I like can play the game beside me. Yeah.
It's going to be different waves of feedback, right? Because you get I think the like you being able to watch people play the game is going to be the most useful, because you will see where they get stuck. You will see which levels were like really easy, they just breeze through it, and then it's less for them to have to
deal
write
with
down.
like what they understand wrongly about the levels.
Yeah, exactly. And then like anything else that is over the Discord would probably be remote. So that's probably like a second phase once you're a little happier with how everything is set up.
And just look to find the last few edge cases probably.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, thanks once again for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.
Oh, thank you for having me. Bye.